Hello, this is Intuitive Anna Priscilla. Today I'm going to take a reading from this huge grand tableau. I'll pan out so you can see. It's got 45 cards. It's the tea leaf reading cards by Tea with Karen. There's also a mat which has all of the houses for the cards. We're not going to go into too much depth today. I just wanted to do a quick reading, otherwise we'd be here for like 2 hours. But I wanted to do a reading between President Biden and President Zelensky of the Ukraine and how their meeting went. I recently did one on Charles and President Biden, but I thought it might be interesting to see the dynamic between these two men. So for this reading, I'm just going to use position and direction. I'm not going to go into reading every single card. So here we have President Zelensky here. I made him the woman. And then here we have President Biden here. So President Zelensky is at the top of the Grand Tableau, which shows that he's in the top position here. He's very close to the beginning, but he's facing outwards. So he's looking solely at this one card, this heart card. Everything in front of him is his future. Everything behind him leading up to that point is his past. So he's been through a lot. You can see he's got a very long chain of cards behind him. He's been through a lot to get to this position here. So these cards, this card here is the present and his future. Very focused on this relationship. He needs relationships to survive. Behind him, I'm just going to look at these 4 cards for each. Behind him, you can see the grapes. The grapes is abundance, maybe perhaps all the gifts and support he's been getting from the United States and other countries. But we have the axe. So he's worrying that some of this support is going to be axed, that his plentiful financial support and supplies may be axed. So he's really focused on keeping this relationship sweet because this is where it's coming from for him. Also, this grapes with many members here could be NATO, and he was trying to be admitted to NATO, and he's not succeeding right now with that. So you can see he really needs to focus on his relationship with the United States, the other NATO partners. He needs to be part of that family, he feels. Also, he's come a long way to get to this point, but he's only looking one way now forward, and his future depends on these allies. So if we go down to Biden, he's 3 rows down. You can see 1, 2, 3. So he has all the weight of all of these cards on top of him. He's also very far from President Zelensky. They're not together, they're not in the same line. This is Biden's present, but he's looking forward. He's looking forward to all of these cards. So for him, the future is much more important. He needs to really feel that they're building some kind of a solid future here. He's also right at the end of the reading, so he's not really focusing on anything in the past. He's looking forwards. So for him, he's got a lot more burden on him. He's got all these rows. He's got a lot more responsibility, a lot of other things to consider than Zelensky. Zelensky's in survival mode. He's just looking at keeping his friends, keeping his relationships, because that's his lifeline. But Biden is in a whole nother position. He's got to think of a lot of other things besides just that one issue. So you can see here he's got the eye. So he's looking at the bigger picture. He's trying to intuit the best way forward here. He's also concerned about the health, the well-being of the castle, which is the state. Could be the American government, could be his position in the government, could also be NATO. It could also be the Ukrainian government. So for him, the health of the institutions is very important. And that's what is the gateway to him moving forward. So we have these 4 cards here. He's right at the beginning. He's the one that's going to determine how this goes forward. So you can see he's trying to watch everything. He's watching everything. He's got his eye on it all. He's really concerned about the health, and I know that they were saying that Ukraine would not get NATO membership until they were over this war, till they'd recovered and the state was stronger. The institutions were stronger. So Biden's looking at a much different situation. His relationships are determined on bigger issues. Zelensky is just looking at making friends so he'll survive and not lose the support. This could be war as well behind him. So they're in 2 different places, but they're not in the same row. They're not seeing eye to eye. Zelensky's looking out, Biden's looking this way. So the direction that they're facing is opposite. So even though Biden's supporting him, he is looking long term. So you can see he's got all this stuff that he's looking for. You can see here the grave. It looks like he's looking forward, once this is over, to promoting being in a league with other gentlemen and communicating, but there's a lot that has to go on before they get to that position. So I hope this is interesting for you. It's just a teeny slice of this huge, big spread, and I could go on for a couple hours, but I wanted to show you the difference in their positions and their focus. Zelensky's looking at one thing. Biden is looking at a whole chain of things. And if we follow the directions in each line, we could also see the direction of the energy. Basically, Zelensky is all going this direction here, but then it starts in another direction. Biden's is all going towards him, so he has to deal. All these cards are facing him. So he has to deal with all of these pressures on top of him and coming towards him in the future. So it's a whole different reading for each of them. Also, we could look at the position of the man and the woman in this huge spread. So you can see underneath I have a cloth that has the houses for each of these. So for the man, we have Biden. For him, he's looking at contracts, agreements, communication, putting out the message he wants to, but a lot of this is contracts, connections, could be some of the agreements he's making with President Zelensky about supporting him in one way or another. We know he just sent him some new weapons. And then for President Zelensky, who's the woman, we have the mermaid. The mermaid is about looking beyond the show. It all looks beautiful, and he's also trying to project an image of beauty and grace and being in control and sort of glamour. He's become a pretty charismatic leader, but also he's worried that it's all an illusion and that perhaps underneath the surface of this relationship he's got the axe. So you can see he's not quite as sure of his position as Biden is. So thank you for listening. I made this as simple as I could. Of course, we're in a huge world with lots of things going on. You can see from this huge tableau. I'd like to also recommend these cards, the MysTEAcal Tea cards by Tea with Karen. You can see how beautiful they are. And then I do have them laid upon a cloth that has all the house positions, so it gives you a layered reading. So for example, we could see the letter was over President Biden. So thank you for listening. If you like and subscribe. I think this is an interesting insight into what's going on between these two men. So we had here President Biden, and we had President Zelensky of the Ukraine. Thanks for listening.